My name's Amy Haye. I'm a dress historian and curator. I used to work as curator of 20th century dress at the V&A, and I'm now a professor at London College of Fashion. I still curate exhibitions, I write books, and I train students to work with dress, which is a very particular medium in museum and gallery contexts. This is by Ann Demeulemeester. The current designer is Sébastien Mounier. I've always liked Ann Demeulemeester since the mid-1980s, when she worked as part of the Antwerp Six, along with sort of Dries van Noten and Margiela, and other designers, Walter van Beirendonck. I always liked her clothes because they were an interesting combination of masculinity and femininity. They're kind of dashingly romantic, but there's also sort of quite a hard edge to them as well. And long before androgyny became famous, Ann Demeulemeester was one of those few designers that really did combine elements from menswear and womenswear in one outfit. I particularly like this outfit. It comprises an evening dress, boots, gloves, and a leather corset, because it reminds me of a particular point in fashion history that I absolutely love. From the mid to late 1930s, at a time when the world is in absolute sort of political and social upheaval, and obviously awful things are happening, fashion sort of seems to escape into a sort of area of sort of fantasy, and it becomes subject to all sorts of influences, and the better known of those are Hollywood influence, being inspired by the films, surrealism, neoclassicism, and the lesser known influence is the one that I absolutely love, which is the neo-Victorian influence, whereby lots of designers started designing in complete reaction to like 1920s garçon styles, really, really romantic evening wear, surprisingly with sort of crinolines, with bustles, and also with corsets worn on the outside. There was also the sort of incredible etiquette of a woman always wearing gloves, and for evening wearing them like right up to her shoulders. So whilst Sébastien Mounier might not be seeing the influences that I am, when I saw this outfit, it's through that lens as a dress historian that I saw it, and that's what really appealed to me. Unlike many designers who take over the artistic director at Demeulemeester, sometimes there's a lot of fanfare about the transition, but in his case it was quite a quiet transition. He'd designed menswear since I think about 2010, and he very much has kept on designing almost like for Ann Demeulemeester, who's still involved in the company. And in many ways this outfit really does exemplify her approach to design. It has this sort of, it's like dashingly romantic, but it's also got a hard edge too. So it's this sort of sinuous wool crepe dress which just drapes on the body beautifully. It's got slightly padded shoulders, which are typical of the late 1930s, but it's very much, it's completely modern because we wouldn't have got these sort of raggedy edges, raw edges around the hem and around the neckline that we've got with this dress. The corsets in the 1930s were mainly made from silk and they were boned. This is unlike that, but funnily enough, the look is really quite similar. And I'm thinking in 1938, Elsa Schiaparelli designed the most amazing dress, which was called the skeleton dress, and it had padded ribs and was quite see-through and looks incredibly contemporary today. And this outfit reminds me of that. It also reminds me of Charles James, who was the most wonderful romantic designer, whose evening wear just had lots and lots of corselet tops, black silk bias cut, shoulders padded, leather sort of silk gloves up to here. I was intrigued to see this because when I saw it on the catwalk, I thought it might be quite complex in its construction, but when you take the corset off, it's actually just a strip of leather that's been cut on a curve with fringed edges with loops and laced up the back. But the effect, because the leather's quite thick, is you get this lovely sort of overlapping effect, which is quite sculptural. The corset's made from really thick leather. The gloves are made from absolutely butter-soft leather, and they comprise two parts, and I was interested to see that because I didn't know that looking from the catwalk. They're completely luxurious. The leather's made in Italy. So you can wear the gloves like this, and they've got a lovely sort of gathered detail. Where was it? Oh, here. So they're sort of gathered up here. But so the gloves are ultra feminine, but this piece is not unlike a masculine tailored suit. So it's quite like the cuffs that you would have on a historical or contemporary menswear jacket or coat. If I was looking at this dress off the body, I would undertake a process that, as curators, we call material culture analysis, which is taken from an academic called Jules Brown, and he devised 3 processes whereby he said they were a really good way of looking at any object, and it was called description, deduction, and speculation. And you start off by just looking at what you absolutely know about the garment, that it's black, it's got a leather corset. You move on to deduction, which is a bit dependent on our cultural positioning, so we know it's an evening garment, for instance. And then speculation is where we would go off and do more research. We would go and find out more about how it was made. We might try and investigate the clients. And so when I'm teaching my students, I would say to them, if we were looking at these pieces, tell me 10 things that you know, 10 things that you can deduce, and 10 ways that you might go off and find more. And obviously, if the garment's worn, it's got an added biography, and we could find out who'd worn it, where they'd wear it. But this has come straight from the studio. So it's not marked, it's not damaged, but it doesn't have the biography of the wearer. Thank you.